So, have you ever seen someone just absolutely crushing it online, building this amazing business, connecting with loads of people?
Oh, definitely. And you get that little voice in your head, right?
Yeah, exactly. That voice that says, oh, that's just not me. I don't have the fancy camera or the perfect setup or, the money to sink into it.
Or maybe I really don't want my face all over the internet. That's a big one, too.
Totally. It feels like this whole digital world demands, I don't know, a certain polish, visibility, maybe technical skills that just seem out of reach.
It does often feel that way. But what's fascinating about the source material we've been looking at is that it argues almost the exact opposite is happening now.
Oh, how so?
Well, it suggests that right now, like today in 2025, some of the most effective and profitable online businesses, they're being built by people starting with pretty much just their voice and their ideas.
Just voice and ideas.
Yeah, the sources are really framing this as the era of voice-first entrepreneurship. They even call it the faceless business revolution.
Faceless business revolution. I like that.
The core idea really is that your actual voice, your authentic perspective, that's your biggest asset. And it's way more accessible than you might think.
Okay, right. So for this deep dive, our mission then is to really unpack that. We want to pull out the key insights from this material for you.
Yeah, like how does this actually work? Why is it thriving right now specifically?
And crucially, how can you maybe start thinking about tapping into this?
So one of the first really interesting points the sources make is about this kind of huge shift in how people are actually consuming content.
We think visual first, maybe,
Yeah.
but audio is just surging.
Massively. I mean, the sources point out podcasts are like a multi-billion-dollar industry now.
Billions.
And audiobooks getting close to, what, 30% of all book sales? Think about that.
That's huge. And remember things like Clubhouse a while back.
Exactly. It showed this like fundamental craving people have just to hear other people talking authentically, unfiltered.
Yeah, real conversations.
And it's not just background noise. People are actively slotting this into their lives, learning, engaging.
Well, they do other stuff. Commuting, working out, chores.
Right. Voice content just fits perfectly into those multitasking moments. It turns that, quote, dead time into time for learning or connecting. That behavioral shift is like foundational to this whole thing.
Okay, so the audience is there. They're listening while they live their lives. So what makes a voice-first business actually succeed? What are the advantages the source material points to?
This is where it gets really cool. The sources argue that what you might think are disadvantages of being voice-only, they can actually be your biggest strengths.
Okay, like what?
Well, first off, authenticity beats Polish. That's a key theme.
Yeah.
Your real voice, maybe you stumble over a word, maybe the dog barks faintly.
Wow.
That feels more human, more trustworthy than some hyper-polished, perfectly lit video.
Right, that imperfection creates connection, which ties into the next point, I guess, the lower barrier to entry.
Exactly. What do you really need for audio? Your phone probably has a decent voice recorder already.
For a free app like Anchor, Audacity.
And a quiet-ish room. That's basically it to start. Now compare that to video. Cameras, lights, editing software that needs a lettering curve.
Yeah, the startup hurdle for audio is just tiny in comparison.
Tiny. And then there's the intimacy factor. Being consistently in someone's ears week after week, it builds this incredible loyalty.
Sources mention that parasocial relationship idea.
Yeah, it sounds academic, but it just means listeners feel like they know you, like you're a friend almost. That bond. It's incredibly powerful for building, well, anything. A community, a business.
And because it's multitasking friendly, people actually spend more time with you, right? An hour walk means an hour listening.
Absolutely. That boosts engagement, boosts retention, in a way content that demands full visual focus often can't match.
Makes sense.
Plus, think globally. Voice can cross borders and cultures, maybe even easier than video sometimes. Fewer visual cues to misinterpret, smaller file sizes for places with slower internet.
So it's got this global reach,
Yeah.
but still feels really personal. Okay.
Yeah.
But let's talk about the big blockers for people. The tech fear and the cost.
The elephants in the room, yeah. The sources tackle these head on.
Good. So the tech intimidation first.
The argument is pretty strong in 2025 that fear is largely outdated. Recording, like we said, your phone is probably fine to start.
And those free apps, Anchor, Audacity, even GarageBand on Macs or iPhones,
Yeah.
they're designed to be pretty user-friendly, right?
Very much so. Lots of tutorials out there, too. You absolutely do not need to be a sound engineer these days.
Okay. What about getting it out there publishing?
That's maybe the biggest game changer. Platforms like Anchor, for example, they automate distribution. You upload your audio once.
And it goes to Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google, all the main places.
Yep, automatically, no messing with RSS feeds or complex setups if you don't want to. Upload once, it goes everywhere. Super simple.
Okay, that does sound easier. And getting paid. Do I need a fancy website right away?
Not necessarily. The sources suggest you can start really lean. Use tools like Gumroad or a simple ConvertKit landing page, even just PayPal links for those first sales.
So the tech is there to make it simple, even if you're not technical.
Precisely. It's built for creators, not engineers.
All right, what about the other elephant? The cost. The source mentions a $0 start. Is that really possible?
It argues, yeah, it genuinely is. With your existing smartphone, free hosting platforms like Anchor, maybe free versions of email tools to start, you could potentially make your first sale before spending any significant money.
Wow. Okay. Contrast that with.
Right. The source uses the example, opening a small coffee shop. You might need $100,000, maybe more, just to get started.
Yeah, yearly.
But an online business built around, say, audio courses or coaching, starting with voice. The source suggests reaching six figures is possible with maybe less than $500 total initial investment.
Less than $500. That's a staggering difference.
It really is. And the ongoing costs.
Yeah.
Minimal. Maybe, $10 to $50 a month for some better tools once you're making money. Compare that to rent, inventory, staff.
No comparison. So you invest as you grow, not hope to grow after a huge investment.
Exactly. That scalability is crucial. Validate your idea first, then invest profits back in.
Okay, so the tech's simpler, the cost is incredibly low, the audience is listening. But does this actually work? Like, are there real examples of people building businesses this way? Facelessly.
Absolutely. The source material shares a few really compelling stories. They really illustrate this faceless revolution idea.
Okay, let's hear them.
Well, first, there's this anonymous podcast host, shared productivity tips specifically aimed at parents, never showed their face, built an audience of like 50,000 dedicated listeners, and now makes over $200,000 a year selling related online courses and coaching programs, all from the podcast.
Wow. Just from the audio connection. Okay. Who else?
There's a voice-only course creator, started off just offering free audio lessons about homeschooling topics.
Wow.
That free content built trust, built an audience, and eventually grew into a business doing, get this, $1 million a year.
$1 million. Selling what?
Selling premium, really in-depth audio courses on those homeschooling subjects. People clearly wanted more of what she was offering.
Incredible. And one more.
Yeah, a third example is someone who built a really successful consulting business, actually. Started with a faceless podcast sharing business stories and lessons.
Okay.
The podcast got popular, positioned them as an expert, and that led directly to high-ticket consulting gigs and even bestseller audiobooks later on. All started with just the voice.
So these stories, they really drive home the point, don't they? The sources seem to be saying your biggest asset isn't how you look or how slick your production is.
Exactly. It's the value, the knowledge, the perspective, the connection you deliver through your authentic voice. That's what matters.
So for someone listening right now thinking, okay, maybe, how do they start figuring out what their unique, valuable voice-first opportunity might be?
Yeah, good question. The source offers some practical ways to brainstorm. Start with your frustrations. Seriously, what problems have you solved for yourself that drove you crazy?
Solving your own problems first. Makes sense.
That solution, that journey, that's probably valuable knowledge for someone else facing the same thing. Or look at your background, your jobs, your hobbies, even unique life stuff. What have those taught you?
What expertise have you gained, maybe without even realizing it?
Right, and pay attention to conversations. What do people ask you about? Friends, family, colleagues? What do you find yourself explaining over and over?
That's a good clue. What you're the go-to person for.
Definitely. Also, just explore your passions. What could you happily talk about for ages? That genuine enthusiasm. It comes across loud and clear in audio.
Yeah, you can hear passion.
And finally, actively look for gaps. Go into online communities, forums, Facebook groups, and areas you know something about. What questions keep coming up with no great answers? Maybe you can provide that answer.
Be the missing voice.
Exactly. And here's a really crucial point the sources emphasize. You do not need to be the world's leading expert on day one.
Oh, that's a relief for many, I bet.
Huge relief. You just need to be, say, one step ahead of the person you're trying to help. Be willing to share what you do know authentically. That's enough.
That feels way more achievable. Okay, so you find your potential niche. The source actually lays out a kind of roadmap, right? A 12-week plan to potentially get to first revenue.
It does. It offers a structured approach, which can be really helpful. Phase 1, like weeks 1 to 4, is all about content creation.
Just getting something out there.
Yeah, aim for maybe 4 to 6 initial pieces of free audio content. Doesn't have to be long. Just establish your voice, your topic, deliver some value.
Okay, first month, create content, then what?
Phase 2 kind of overlaps, weeks 2 to 8 maybe. That's audience building. You take that content you made and start sharing it where your potential listeners hang out online.
So relevant groups, forums, maybe social media.
Exactly. Join conversations, offer helpful insights related to your content. Don't just spam links, obviously. Add value, attract people who resonate.
Build that initial audience.
Yeah.
Okay, makes sense. We're maybe 2 months in now.
Right. And then around week 6 to 10, you move into phase 3, product development.
Ah, the monetization part starts here.
Yep. Based on what seems to be resonating, what people are asking for more of, you create your first paid offering. Keep it simple initially.
Like what? What kind of first product?
Could be a short audio course, maybe a bundle of guided audio meditations if that fits, a paid audio newsletter, maybe even offering one-on-one consultation calls.
Something manageable to create.
Exactly. And then phase 4, weeks 10 to 12, is launch and iterate. You offer that first paid product to the audience you've started building.
Get it out there.
Get it out there, get feedback, see what works, what doesn't, and adjust. The source material actually suggests you could see your first revenue coming in around week 8 or so if you're consistent with these steps.
Wow, potentially just 2 months to first income. That's pretty fast.
It's possible, yeah, especially because the initial investment is so low, you're building momentum quickly.
And once you have that foundation, that first product maybe, what other ways can you monetize a voice-first business, according to the sources?
Oh, lots of options open up. Digital products are big, expanding into more audio courses, guides, maybe those meditations we mentioned.
Okay.
Subscription services work well for ongoing value. Think exclusive audio content, maybe a private audio feed, or access to a community forum.
Right, recurring revenue.
Definitely. And because your free content positions you as knowledgeable, consulting or coaching becomes a natural fit for many. People will pay for direct access to your expertise.
That makes sense.
Affiliate marketing, too. If you genuinely use a product or service relevant to your audience, recommending it can earn commissions. Just got to be authentic about it.
Yeah, trust is key there.
Absolutely. And as your audience grows, sponsored content could become an option where relevant brands pay to be mentioned.
Like podcast ads.
Exactly. And finally, building a deeper paid community around your topic, offering ongoing support, Q&As, connection that can be really valuable.
So lots of paths. The advice is probably start simple.
Yeah, pick 1 or 2 monetization methods that feel like the best fit to start, nail those, and then maybe expand later. Don't try to do everything at once.
Right. Now, even knowing all this potential, people still hit internal roadblocks, right? Fears. The source material talks about those.
It does, very empathetically, and it offers some really good counterarguments.
Okay, let's hit the big ones. First, I hate my voice, or I don't sound professional enough.
Ah, the classic. The source strongly pushes back. Authenticity is the goal here, not sounding like a perfect radio announcer. Your natural voice, its quirks, its tone, that's what builds connection. Trying to fake a professional voice often sounds, well, fake.
So your real voice is actually an asset.
Exactly. It's uniquely you. What about the I don't know enough feeling? Imposter syndrome.
Huge one. Who am I to teach this?
The source basically says you don't need to know everything. You just need to know a bit more than the person you're trying to help. Be helpful to people who are, like we said, just a step or two behind you. Your perspective is valuable to them.
Focus on who you can help right now. Okay. Fear of judgment. Putting yourself out there is scary.
It really is. The advice here is practical. Start small. Your first few listeners, your initial audience, they'll likely find you because they're genuinely interested in your specific topic.
Yeah.
They're probably rooting for you, not waiting to tear you down.
Find your niche, find your people. Got it. What about the constant pressure? I just don't have time.
This loops back to the advantage of audio. You often can create audio content in moments you absolutely couldn't film video.
Driving, walking.
Exactly. Waiting for an appointment, even just starting with, say, 10 or 15 minutes of recording per week is enough to get the ball rolling, build momentum bit by bit.
Okay. What about pricing? I have no idea what to charge.
Super common question. The source suggests being practical. Start lower. Make it an easy yes for your first few customers. Get those initial sales, get testimonials, build your confidence.
Prove the concept.
Right. Then, as you see the positive impact you're having and you have that social proof, you can absolutely raise your prices to reflect the value.
Start low, build proof, then raise. Makes sense. And finally, back to tech. All the technical stuff just overwhelms me.
The advice here is simple. Start simpler. Just your phone and a free app. Seriously, don't even think about fancy microphones or editing software yet.
Master the basics first.
Master the basics. Get comfortable with the process. Only upgrade your tools when you feel a specific need and you have the budget from your earnings. Don't let the pursuit of perfect tech stop you from starting at all.
Good is better than perfect, but never launched.
Exactly. Across all these spheres, the core message seems to be taking that first small step, recording that first piece, sharing it somewhere. That's the most important thing. Just start.
And there's one more thing the sources mentioned that makes starting today even more feasible, right? The AI advantage.
Ah, yes. AI. It's positioned not as a replacement for you, but as a powerful assistant, a secret weapon, almost.
How so? How can AI help someone starting a voice-first business?
In lots of practical ways, actually. The sources list things like brainstorming ideas for topics or angles, helping structure outlines for your audio content, whether it's a podcast episode or an audio course module.
Okay, so planning and structuring help.
Big time. And then on the production side, AI tools are getting amazing at cleaning up audio, removing background noise, improving clarity, even generating surprisingly accurate transcripts almost instantly.
Transcripts are huge for accessibility and repurposing content.
Huge. AI can also help write descriptions for your episodes, social media posts to promote them, even draft email copy.
So it helps with the marketing and admin stuff, too.
Definitely. And even in creating paid products, like structuring an audio course, maybe suggesting quiz questions, or even helping personalize the learning path. Some use AI for basic customer service chatbots, too.
Wow. Okay, so it really handles a lot of the grunt work, frees you up.
That's the idea. It amplifies your creativity and knowledge by handling some of the time-consuming or technical tasks. It levels the playing field, letting you focus on your core message and connecting with listeners.
It lets you be the voice, not the everything else person.
Pretty much. You focus on the value you bring.
Okay, let's wrap this up then. The big takeaway from this deep dive, synthesizing all this material, it feels really powerful. It's that building a real, profitable, meaningful online business using mainly your voice and ideas. It's not some far-off dream.
No, it's incredibly accessible right now, 2025.
You might look at yourself and think, I don't have the gear, the skills, the visibility.
But the sources argue, convincingly I think, that you already have the most critical tools. Your unique voice, your specific ideas, your perspective, that's the core.
And the closing thought for the material is kind of a direct challenge, isn't it? It says, look, the tech is simple enough now. The costs are incredibly low. The audiences are out there, actively looking for authentic voices like yours.
Yeah, and it leaves you with that lingering question. If all that's true, what's really stopping you from starting? Like, today.
It's provocative in this, often noisy and maybe superficial digital world. That authentic human voice, it cuts through.
It builds trust. It shares expertise in a really relatable way. It creates genuine connection and impact for your listeners and potentially for building your own thriving thing.
So this faceless, voice-first revolution, it's not coming. It's happening now.
It's here, and it's waiting for more voices. Your voice, your unique angle, your experiences.
There are people who need to hear what you have to say in your way. The tools are there. The audience is listening. The path seems clearer than ever.
It really does. Your business journey, your impact journey, it could literally start with your next breath.
Take that breath.
Start speaking, start sharing, start building. Your voice-first adventure, it begins now.